And now we like to invite Mr. Luke Scheiter to give a welcome speech.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, Minister of Scientific Research, Professor Dr. Sherif Hamad, Your Excellency, Minister of Urban Renewal and Informal Settlement, Professor Dr. Laila Iskander, dear Dr. Eid, Head of NACHA, dear Ms. Oechsle, Head of Scientific Department of the German Embassy, Excellencies, Presidents and Vice Presidents, dear Professor El-Bahawi, dear Professor Hamhaber, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome you to this international conference on transformation in higher education on behalf of the DAAD. You certainly know that DAAD is engaged in the German-Egyptian cooperation since more than 50 years. Last year, we funded all in all more than 1,700 Egyptian scholars for study or research days in Germany, as well as around 450 Germans coming to universities in Egypt. Our slogan is change by exchange, and I'm completely convinced that physical mobility across borders leads to mental mobility and transformation on both sides too. The list of our transformation projects is long, reaching from medicine to social sciences. In the case of this amazing Partner project, the transformation partnership between FH Köln and Ain Shams University, the transformation focus is on the transformation of itself, of education itself. The aim is to develop and establish new methods and understandings of learning in a world where the challenges are too complex for simple questions and simple answers. Local as well as global challenges can only be forced by new forms of thinking, by integrating different perspectives, and by working together with different disciplines. The Partner project is a role model for transformations which have to take place in Egypt as well as in Germany towards participatory and interdisciplinary scientific approaches. There are hard skills as knowledge and soft skills, how to create, access and transfer knowledge. And sometimes soft skills can be very hard to gain. By sharing and discussing ideas with many others, by testing them in the field, by connecting them with practice. I was impressed when I discovered how the Partner project is able to face all these issues at the same time. New didactics are crucial for the development of a job-oriented higher education system. We made this experience in Germany over the last decades too. As I already told you, the Transformation Partnership Program of the DAAD aims to initiate modern forms of cooperation between our two countries. The next step of this transformation process will be crucial for its success, the long-lasting implementation of these freshly developed new structures in the curricula as well as in the faculties. It will be a question of ownership on both sides, of long-term investments and perspectives. This has to be the work of the partners themselves. And I wish the Partner project all the best for a long life, that it remains more than a project. For the benefit of the students, for the benefit of the Egyptian society, and for the benefit of the Egyptian-German cooperation. Of course, DAAD will always try to be on your side, and I hope to see you again and wish you now a fruitful conference. And thank you very much for your activities and for your attention.
Your Excellency, Dr. Laila Iskander, Minister of Urban Renewal and Informal Settlements, Your Excellency, Dr. Sherif Hamad, Minister of Scientific Research, Dr. Eid, Dr. Roman Lukscheiter, Head of DAAD Cairo Office, Dr. Hamhaber, Dr. Bahravi. I think I stop now because you have managed to get so many VIPs here, as I restrict myself to saying, ladies and gentlemen, warm welcome also from my side. It's a pleasure for me to welcome you here on the occasion of this international conference discussing the prospects of transformation of higher education in Egypt with a special focus on innovative teaching concepts. Didactics, the art of teaching, is the indispensable centerpiece of education. Other ingredients to a successful higher education system constitute, of course, the quality of curricula and the broader organization of the higher education system itself. The Transformation Partnership Program Partner discussed all these topics over the last 3 years in the German-Egyptian context. From my own academic career, Having taken courses at universities in China, the UK, France, and of course Germany, I know that teaching methods differ greatly between countries, even within Europe. The way and the environment in which we are taught as students, however, not only influences our ability of understanding contents. It also contributes largely to the way we think and act also outside schools and universities. There is, of course, no one-size-fits-all concept of organizing the higher education sector, but I am sure that the regular exchange on possible transformation and reform of the sector can greatly contribute to its improvement. It is not about copying curricula or teaching methods, but about being up-to-date about trends in teaching and about finding ways to integrate these into the respective national context. This is why international conferences like this one, and of course programs like Partner, really have added value. Egypt is confronted with numerous challenges in its education system, and it is high time for reforms. Bridging the gap between universities, research institutes, and industry for the sake of better integrating graduates into the labor market should be one priority. Another urgent issue is how to deal with the ever-increasing demand for higher education and how to ensure quality of teaching at the same time. This is actually what we discussed on Friday in the context of the German Science Day 2014. Egypt can, on the other hand, look back to a long-standing academic tradition hosting some of the oldest universities ever founded worldwide. This high potential should not be wasted. So I wish all of you a successful and interesting conference, and I'm very curious about the results. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Laura. Now I have the pleasure to introduce Dr. Sharif Hamad to address the conference audience. The title written here is Scientific Research as a Catalyst for Higher Education Transformation. Your Excellency.
Thank you. Good morning, dear guests. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the organizers of this conference from the German and Egyptian sides for their efforts to conduct such an international function involving participants from different institutions inside and outside Egypt. The subject of the conference being the transformation in higher education is an important one, not only from the education side, but also from the research and development side. As you probably know, I am the former Dean of the Faculty of Engineering at Shams University, and have always appreciated the excellent cooperation with the Kolonia University of Applied Science and the DAD office in Cairo. In my capacity as the Minister of Scientific Research, I support your activities and I wish you further success in your efforts to transform higher education in the area of participatory and multidisciplinary learning. I wish you a productive and enjoyable conference. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for the invitation to have me from the Ministry with Dr. Ahmed Darwish, my deputy, and Dr. Sharif Gohari, one of the leading members of our ministry, to this important event. We have been working with Ain Shams University through several programs on informal settlement upgrading, and I'd like to share with you some of the lessons learned about everything. It used to be just about bricks and mortar, building better construction for the poor, moving them out of shacks into concrete buildings and so on. We've decided to shift our focus a little towards people in the next phase. So that's a new strategy in our ministry. And as we did that, as we sit and meet and talk with partners all over, we realized that it's a lot harder than bricks and mortar. So when you look at the people who live in informal settlements, you find that they are learning, but out of school. So it brings us to an important aspect of, okay, all of these university people you are teaching, how are they going to work with our kids who are not going to go to school, for sure, in informal settlements? And if they do, they will probably drop out by 3rd grade, 6th grade if we're lucky. And when they graduate from 6th grade, they'll probably not be literate anyway. So there is a need to design programs in our universities on interdisciplinary ways of learning for youth in informal settlements. Because they do learn, but they learn in SME workshops, they learn in hazardous situations, but they learn. I lived with them for 30 years in Mansheit Nasser, and I saw them learn. They created an industrial revolution. In fact, they brought in machines, they learned how to operate them, maintain them, repair them, and make a living which allowed them to build some of Egypt's most formidable housing stock. All informal, but worth millions of pounds. But of course, it was not accredited. So Dr. Johansson couldn't give us her seal of approval on the learning that they had acquired. So what do? Do we let them go on without accreditation, without quality in their informal settlements? I saw them learn also in NGOs, which provide a lot of non-formal education opportunities for out-of-school youths. And in fact, it's one of the main areas of UNESCO's Education for All, the global platform for education. There is a huge chapter there on non-formal education. And it's not just about preschool or adults learning on distance learning. No, it's about the poor who learn in spite of us. So our question is, how do we generate or create a bridge for our privileged students who go to universities like Ain Shams and others to reach out to these others who are not going to go to university, not going to go to school, but who still learn? And learn in a manner which contributes to the economy of this country in a formidable way. That's a question we need to respond to, because up till now it has been left unrecognized, uncounted, undocumented, and there's millions of pounds that goes into that sector, and it's all through non-profit organizations. The next question is, if we're talking about interdisciplinary learning, well now, through our ministry, we're going to try to upgrade the solid waste sector, for instance, for one of our programs, by having young people go door to door and collect source segregated waste. It's going to be a two-bag system, and it's going to be door-to-door collection, no street containers, because of the negative aspects of hygiene on the streets. We're not talking about the traditional Zabalin, we're talking about young Egyptians, those who dropped out in 3rd grade and 6th grade, but who want to learn about environmental sciences of recycling. First, we have to dignify the occupation, otherwise we're not going to be able to attract anybody to come into it. Second, we're going to have them make a lot of money from the clean, source-segregated, non-organic, but they want to learn about how to process the machines. Are we going to have them use the same machines that the informal sector recyclers have been using for years? Or are we going to say, sorry, there's no halfway measure for this. You either work on these bad machines where a finger might fly off, or you work in a factory. There's no in between, because our partners across the Mediterranean have surpassed us in this technology and are unable to backtrack and come back to our level of technology and say, okay, here are some engineers who can help you upgrade the basic technology, but not complicate it to the point where it's beyond their capacities. There is an issue here with interdisciplinary learning and appropriate technology. We haven't found the answer to that. We need to take it one step at a time. And as we do that, we're kind of perplexed by the science and technology of the North that has produced this wealth of engineering know-how and has now understood issues, complex issues about climate change, and has decided deliberately in Europe to abandon fossil fuel economies because they know the devastation it's causing the earth, and yet they're exporting to us across the Mediterranean these same technologies that devastated the environment when they used these technologies in their countries. Case in point, coal. Coal is now being reduced in Europe, but it has to find a market. Or another one, incinerators. Look at the map, the solid waste map of Europe. Gradual phasing out of all incinerators in Europe. Where will they go? But they have to cross the Mediterranean. Coal crosses incinerators, gasification, plasma technology, pyrolysis, all of these fancy names that Europe, in its wisdom and technology, has understood is bad for humanity. We need to seriously and with integrity look at some of these issues of interdisciplinary learning, not just for our students, but for our governments and our economies. We live on one planet. We cannot export bad technologies south because they will backfire to the north. So I'm hoping that in a deep discussion on interdisciplinary learning, we will all learn to preserve our planet and our people. Thank you.